on in Moto, and my screen just decided to boom. There it is. The number one on a 250. I am so sad to see Deegan on a 250 again, but look at the motorcycle next to it. That is a 450, number 38. And so for there, I still have high hopes that we will see him race maybe one or two East Coast Supercross rounds, which if you guys saw my reaction show to the Australian Supercross stuff, I was saying best bet is he is going to race West Coast. And therefore, he has proper time to get ahead and get that motorcycle on the 450 at least set up. He's probably going to have almost the identical setup that Tomac runs, even from the cable clutch to everything, because if you saw my analysis video, he's running that cable clutch and he's tightening it quite a bit through the races. And that was like only 8 to 12 laps, which was very interesting. But the cool thing here is his contract is actually to be pitted with the 450 guys. You know, if you go to the races, you never see Deegan in the 250 section, just plain and simple. So he is able to pit out of the 450 guys. So therefore, sure, his whole contract with the Fox Racing with only being 450 guys, I guess that's how they got away with it, because he is here on the 250. You can see the nice little bump here. He's got the Fox gear, which is interesting, right? And if I jump to somebody, Joe, we saw that he broke his neck, right? And surgery went well, but this is really the only guy that I thought could beat Deegan, along with his own teammate, Cole Davies. And this guy's not going to be racing West Coast. I'm going to just stamp it right there. Is Shimoda is not racing West Coast Supercross because he needs to recover, and he might be out all of Supercross, because if we talk about like what happened with Dungey broke his neck, didn't realize, then got it fixed, and that kind of mentally put him downhill. And Joe is one of these very precise riders where he doesn't dick around with anything. He's okay with maybe riding at 90% and be there for the longevity, where you've got the rider like Deegan, where there's literally, he rides as if there's like no shits given. And if there's anything that we saw at World Supercross, is that's exactly what he did, is he went balls to the wall. Interesting that I can't believe I didn't notice this before, but they've got tile warmers out there at the test track. I'm sure it is slippery and cold, but yeah, that is keep the rubber hot, to have the rubber side down, if you know what I mean. So I'm just maybe speculating a bit that Joe is not going to be lined up for West Coast, which is a bummer. He'll be there for East Coast. And as far as Deegan, he is legally allowed to be able to race the 450 for a race or two on the opposite coast. Maybe we'll see him at Daytona. That would be super cool. So I'm expecting him to be doing that for the opposite coast, you know, and it looks like a lot of other people are thinking the same thing. So in other news, a little bit of other stuff that's been going on for World Supercross. You know, I kind of love them to death, because it has been interesting the past 3 races. You've got the race 4 of the Swedish GP, but there's really no heavy hitters here. Okay. They're advertising Joey, Jason Anderson, and Craig. I'm fairly believing that he is going to win this round, because Kenny's not there. And the whole legality on what has gone on there, as what I have heard, right? You know, minor speculation. So allegedly he was contracted for the whole season, but because of the restructuring of the new buyers that came in, well, from that, they inherited his contract, and maybe they didn't want to pay him as much or what, so they had another deal. And he's really more of a wild card rather than the dude that is there for all races. So right now, it looks like the race is going to be between Joey and Craig for the championship because there's not a whole lot of guys left. I think Webb might race one more. We'd have to look more of that. Maybe I'll just do it here live. Okay, World Supercross, and because now that I've brought the attention, I want to freaking know as far as who's set up for these next deal. SX1. Okay, because it was interesting. They had Kenny as not even being a wild card, which is very, very funny in my opinion, because down at the bottom, you've got Tomac, wild card, Canada. All right, wild card. Oh, he's just only doing Australia. So really, there's no more heavy hitters going to be for World Supercross. So it's almost like the hype is sort of gone when it comes to World Supercross. And I don't understand why they haven't kind of gotten ahead of it to explain what is completely gone on with whole Kenny's contract, or at least Kenny say something. But, I guess it leaves it up for for me to say, hey, they didn't pay him enough. That's basically what I'm saying is they didn't pay him enough. So let's continue on with the news. And, that's honestly kind of a here. Let me post some of the comments on here so we can see it. So now the comments are in the bottom right hand corner. We can just kind of laugh. Typical motocross. We're not letting everyone know what is going on because all the best kept secrets are really not secret. Gosh darn it. But here, in minor some reactions here. They've got the track analysis. I may make another video here for it because it's really the only thing going on at the moment. But we'll maybe keep that separate here. Jeffrey Herlings, pretty much the bullet, the fastest man alive. And it's hard to say the fastest man alive because you got guys like Bubba, and that's a good segue to what I'm going to say about Bubba. But I'm fairly certain from what I have heard is that he's moving to Honda for MXGP, kind of taking Geiger's deal. And he's had 17 years on the KTM. Very, very wild, right? And we've got guys like Antonio Caroli, that brand loyalty, I guess, is something. But I mean, if somebody like Ducati is going to give you guys a bunch of money, maybe go over to them. Oh, kind of jumping ahead here. Look at this Ducati facility for MXGP. Can I zoom in so that you guys can see this? This sucker looks like holy crap. And truthfully, if you haven't seen my review on the new Ducati, that sucker blew my mind. Literally, like gaskets were blown at just the stock Ducati. Yes, I was very bummed that it didn't have silly stuff like impressive coating on the forks, even a skid plate, maybe some bigger foot pegs, some nicer triple clamps, some of that things that I would kind of expect with the name Ducati to come, but it made up for it for how light it was. The bike felt like a 250, and I was literally blown away. I'm still somewhat holding out for like the Honda electric bike for some god awful reason because I'm being lazy and I don't want to work on the damn motorcycles. But as far as a combustion motorcycle, I love that bike and I wouldn't mind buying a Ducati, even over some of its shortcomings as far as just the lack of just put some more shinier parts on it is really all I was asking. So if we're getting back into it, yeah. I need to redo this because that's something that I wanted to hear for sure. This is damn near interesting because we have the new Meta glasses, right? You've got Oakley, and I haven't used them, but I want to use them because if for just cycling or anything, be able to have a little heads up display to be able to see how fast you're going, wind direction, things of that nature is some actually really cool technology. And to see Shoei, as I like to call it, I think it's actually pronounced Shoei, but for the name, I like Shoei because whenever you have a Shoei helmet, you're kind of showing off. They launched the world's first with integrated AR, right? Pretty impressive. I like how we have zero sound. That's going to ruin it for this. But yeah, shows you the kilometers an hour right up here, that would be sweet. And honestly, this makes me think of the fact that if I jump ahead, okay, ooh, yeah, that's good. MotoGP, they tried the radio system. They've been testing it for a while because of F1, and it says it's very controversial, okay, because it's very crazy and it's so far off the mark. Several riders have given it a try the last few years for MotoGP to use it in 2026, even though the system is inspired by F1 counterpart. Uses an earpiece. The MotoGP version uses a speaker placed on the ear bone. I don't get that. Why the fuck would you have it on your ear bone? Like, I get it, you know, you can hear more stuff on here, but all the guys wear earplugs anyway. So why not just have one in as an earpiece? Okay. So for this particular rider, he says it's crazy, so far off the mark. The technician tells me that other riders don't say that, but I tried it. And so maybe there's some sensationalism here. Example, I could guess the message because white flag, for example, is understandable, but clearly there was static. Okay. Kind of sounds like this guy's just bitching about it. But I think that where things should probably be going is this. This is where I see having a heads up display of like, hey, red flag, you know, black flag, whatever, you know, that this is where I could see definitely having the pit board where you don't have your mechanic out there throwing you the sign, and then Joe's coming up here like, oh, I'm the dope new guy on the block that's going to win Supercross. And then, oh, I smacked the pit board doing 88 miles an hour. Now my hand is broken because I don't want to wear hand guards, which you shouldn't have to wear hand guards in Supercross unless it's, you know, very rocky, very optional when it comes to which tracks actually require hand guards, you know, but I digress. Okay. The point is, if we're going to do some sort of integration with radios, it should be probably goggles, heads up display, something like this. The technology is coming and Shoei is starting it off. This helmet is probably going to be $1,500, which is wild, but I'm honestly, I'm a big fan for it. I like it. Okay. So now let's
ride over.
Okay. This is something that I wanted to overview because Carmichael was very well heard here. And I thought that this dynamic was pretty dang cool. And this goes back into what I was talking about, Jeffrey Herlings being the fastest man alive. So here, listen to this. Okay.
When Stu was behind me, okay, I knew that if I went faster, he's going to go faster. So why should I ride over my head or faster than I know that I can go? And then I'm going to get arm pump. Then I'm going to, instead of like turning 20 laps of 53-second laps, why should I go 52.5 and then only make it 16 laps? So I knew, like, when he was behind me, I'm like, well, I'm just going to cruise here because if I go faster, my arms are going to get tight, and then I'm really going to go back.
Incredible. I don't know why I'd ever thought of that to begin with, but Carmichael goes on into that podcast and talks about how much better Stu was and that he had to just beat him as far as strategy goes, you know, rather than just raw speed and wait for Stu to make a freaking mistake, which is what he did. That blew my mind. So Carmichael, like, way to go, dude, for the epic strategy of the faster guys behind me. I'm just going to tire his ass out. I don't think he can make it 30+2. So I'm just going to go slow. And if he passes me, I'll try to pressure him a little bit, but damn, dude, just impressive wherewithal for that, you know. And maybe I'm a little bit of finally Carmichael unblocked me on Instagram, so you know I'm stoked about that as well. So moving on. Oh Jesus, okay, this to me was insane. Okay, before I show this, a little bit of a backup. Okay, this is the guy Peter Hickman who etched his name in the Isle of Man on the mountain course, doing the fastest lap ever. And it looks so much like AI. Dude, it's incredible. So please watch this with me. 200 miles an hour, dude. Curves with... Dude. imagine it's like a burger that comes out in front of you. This elevates my heart to where I'm like, you watch those videos of these guys doing it in traffic. This is just insane, dude. Insane. Average 130 miles an hour, over 37 miles. And the lap was on a prototype of a super bike that they say is near production of super stock. Holy effing A, dude. Wow. Wow. This is honestly right up there with earlier this week. It's only 4 wheels. But damn it. Now I can't trust because Nike Circus with they would take this video down, but it was of Travis Pastrana up one of, I think it was in Wyoming, one of the mountain stages, him having the fastest lap time of 5 minutes up to the top of it. And he's just doing a $130 around some of these corners with just the cliffs down there. Just the level of focus is astronomical for these guys. And as I'm winding down, this was interesting. This new injector by okay. And I believe it's for the Vortex. And it's a bolt-on throttle response, better control, for all KTM Husky gas. Literally just hitting gas in that air box. You know, I kind of wonder what it would be with the. Is it going to run lean, you know, or is it just going to be bogged down because it's way too rich because you're getting more of the injector in here? Maybe it's just a sea level thing, but would love to test something like that, you know? And yeah, I honestly think that that's a pretty cool mod, but I still think the best mod for a 250 is a 270 kit. So everyone out there, I'm endorsing that. If you have a 250 and you are racing, 270 kit is where it's at. Everyone says that they're not cheating, but you just do it because, you know, that's kind of how you get even, right? Everyone is doing it. I'm not quite there as far as taking like a 350 and putting 250 stickers on it and hoping you don't get protested, but I've also seen people do that as well. But the 270 kit gives it way more bottom end. I rode my nephew's Yamaha 250 last Sunday and thing was fun. I think I might have fractured my hand riding it because he had Supercross suspension on there, but it's just slow. Just the 250 stock are just slow. It's a great bike, but it's just not a 450, not very fast, you know, at all. Right. And okay. In closing, Hardy Munoz, this jump I saw was nuclear out here. And I think 67 or 6'7", is that 67 feet, or is that just the sheer number of everyone saying 6'7"? Because that's the deal. You know what? For all the Gen Zers out there that are saying 6'7", well, you know what? I got something for you. 369. That's where we came from. 369. Damn, she's fine. You know, that's the song, but that's my joke with that. But hey, that is your week in moto in under 20 minutes. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I want you guys to keep it WFO. And hit that subscribe button. Thanks, guys. Bro.